Yeah, so when it comes to Sharia concerns, I guess it just depends on um, the life cycle, where a neobank is in its life cycle. Because think of a neobank having an economic life cycle, a business life cycle. It begins like any venture capital, right? A venture capital, if anybody's seen the life cycle of a venture capital, where it's in a startup phase and it's in, a venture capital phase and it's in growth phase, maturity and decline. These are the different phases that a company goes through its business life cycle. And so a neobank is still in a startup phase. It's very much early phase, and therefore generally doesn't have its own license. It relies upon the license of another bank. It generally it's connected, it's white labeling the services of another bank. And so for a neobank, which is in its primary startup phase, it must make sure that the funds that it has are ring fenced and they are not integrated within interest bearing deposits, interest bearing accounts, or when they're using the services of a traditional bank, it shouldn't be that a traditional bank is deploying those funds for interest transactions. They should be at to the furthest extent possible, ring fencing of funds. That's the greatest concern, and of course that's from a back end perspective. From the front end, a neobank cannot offer any service which is not Sharia compliant. So all of its services need to be structured in a way which are Sharia compliant. Therefore, its bank accounts, they can't offer any interest on savings that you have, any current accounts, any remittances must be done in a Sharia compliant way. As we mentioned, a neobank allows people to remit funds across the world. So that structure and process needs to be Sharia compliant as well, because not every remittance is Sharia compliant. It just depends on what's actually happening. The fees, the charges, the way funds are moving, flowing, what's happening in the interim. These things need to be addressed. Likewise, charity payments. If a neobank is offering the ability to pay zakat, it must make sure that it's dealing with that properly, because dealing with zakat is not a light matter, right? So it's a very serious matter, requires a lot of governance. So the Sharia governance framework must be robust to ensure that zakat is being paid in a correct way and being channeled to the correct source. If you're paying a charity, the charity needs to be vetted to ensure that its practices and policies are Sharia compliant, right? Likewise, if a neobank is offering other services, all such services need to be one. For example, cashback is another one. Some neobanks offer cashbacks. Now, the cashback has to be structured in a way which is Sharia compliant, right? And there's a way to structure a Sharia compliant cashback, which I've personally developed as well for a challenger bank, where I structured for them their cashback services, how to do it in a Sharia compliant way. Some challenger banks might be offering you, points on certain things. Some challenger banks I know have taken Sharia compliance to such a level whereby you're not allowed to use their cards to purchase alcohol or to purchase casino services. You can't use a card in a casino. So to that level and depth, they have control over the banking codes. So these are, I think, the key concerns for a challenger bank, which is in its infancy. Of course, when a bank now morphs and grows into a full-fledged licensed bank, and it's in its like mature phase, then there's a number of other factors. The way it manages funds, the products that it's offering. Now, because it's has its own license, it can offer many more products and services as a bank. So each product and service would need to be reviewed, structured in a Sharia compliant way. It would need to be certified. It would need to be audited. It need to have constant iterative review and constant work upon it to ensure that everything's running smoothly. And that's where the role of scholars would come in to ensure that everything is running smoothly as it has set out to be initially.
Islamic finance learning made simple and memorable.